Welcome to worship at the McPherson Church of the Brethren. We are an open and affirming congregation that strives to be hospitable and attentive to all of creation. We do not always meet that goal, and we have our share of ups and downs. But in the midst of it all, we continue to listen to God's call on our individual lives and the life of this congregation. We continue to seek to follow Jesus peacefully, simply, together. We are humbled you have chosen to worship with us. Welcome.
Let's go ahead and join in hymn sing. Our first hymn is number 366. We will sing verses 1 and 4. We might be small, but we're mighty this morning. Our next song is number 401, This Little Light of Mine. We will sing all verses. And our next hymn is number 416, For Christ and the Church, verses 1 and 2. Why don't we go ahead and stand, and then after our song, let's go ahead and greet each other. Thank you.
Lord,
ahead and greet one another. Great. My name is Tricia Hartshorn, and we'd like to welcome those of you that are joining us online and on Channel 13, and those of you that are joining us here today. Do we have any joys or concerns, announcements? Quiet group today. Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Malia Jones. I have a friend here today who is visiting from Iowa, Jamie DeYoung. She's actually a friend of mine from way back. Well, we met when I was 6 years old in Bremen, Indiana, and we went to church together and grew up together. So I'm so glad that she's here. Wonderful. You have an announcement too?
Yeah, hey, for later when you watch the service, I want to wish Dave Fruth a happy birthday.
Yes, we're certainly missing all of those that are headed to NOAC.
Tom Hurst, just want to invite you next Sunday morning for Sunday school as Jan and I share some pictures and stories from our time in Northern Ireland.
All right, seeing no announcements, let us go ahead and prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
Thank you, Brielle. That was beautiful. Please rise and join me for the opening words, and remain standing for the opening song. Many are lonely, who will be neighbor? Where there is welcome, we are God's feet. Some are neglected, who will be neighbor? Where there is welcome, we are God's hair. Many are hungry, who will be neighbor? Where there is welcome, we are God's hands. Some may be strangers, who will be neighbor. Where there is welcome, we are God's love. Please be seated and have the children please come forward for children's story.
We're going to just sit in a circle right here. Have a little intergenerational story time. Come on over here. Let's make a circle, can we? Well, this is unique. Family storytelling. So today's topic is how we can welcome others, right? So we're going to just brainstorm some ways, because I think we kind of know. What are some ways we can welcome other people? Like, say we have a new kid at school, or on the soccer team, or at church. What should we do? Talk to them. Talk to them. What else?
Invite them.
Yeah, invite them.
Feed them.
Any other ideas?
Go over to their house.
Ooh, visit. All right, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm glad I never told you this story before. I wonder if I even told him this story before. So one time when I was in first grade, and you should know I was a very shy kid, so shy that I would fake sick on days we had PE, because my PE teacher would make me be it and all sorts of things where I was on the spot. So I was a very shy kid. And in first grade, toward the end of the year, we got a new kid in our class. And my teacher pulled me aside and she said, "Laura, it's going to be your job to make this student feel welcome." And already I was sort of nervous because I was the shy kid, right? I didn't want to have to go talk to someone or invite someone I didn't know. And you know what else? She didn't speak English. Imagine how that would feel to be the new kid and not even speak the language. So I asked my teacher, how am I going to talk to her? And she told me a secret. She said, you know what you can do? You can smile at her. And then I'm like, well, how am I going to invite her? She's not going to understand when I invite her to play with me. And she said, here's what you can do. Grab her hand, lead her. And so I thought, okay, I'll try. So I did, and I pulled my chair up and I sat right next to her at school, and I smiled at her. You know what else I learned was important? Learning their name. So I learned her name. Oops, that doesn't look like an R. Let's pretend. If you ever need a funny story about learning someone's name, ask this guy. He has a really funny one. So I learned her name. I smiled at her. I would lead her out to the playground to play with me and my friends. And I even learned that when the schoolwork was too hard, I could pull out her box of crayons and teach her the colors. Once she had the colors, I would lay them out in front of her and we'd count them together. And then she learned her numbers. So I learned another way to welcome is by helping, which was kind of cool. But here's the lesson, I think. I think that she probably felt welcome. I don't know, because I can't feel what she felt, right? But I felt something too. I felt pretty good. I remember the day exactly when we went out to the playground and I started leading her toward the swings and she said, 6 black swings. I was so excited, I thought it was going to burst. She couldn't have said that without me, which was pretty cool. And I think sometimes that maybe that's why I became a teacher. It felt so good to me to welcome her and to help her and to talk to her that I wanted to keep on doing it. And I hope that you learn that, and I hope that you learn that, and you learn that, and you learn that. So I have little tokens for all of you, and I hope you use them. These are reminders of how easy it can be to welcome somebody. So some blank note cards and some smiley stickers to help you remember. I hope you use them to welcome someone into your life. Thanks for helping me.
Thank you for your continued financial donations. You may give online at maccob@macbrethren.org. That's maccob@macbrethren.org. If you are worshiping with us in person, you may put your gift in the offering box at the back of the sanctuary, or hand deliver your check to the church office. Just push it through the mail slot at the Education Building. If you would like to donate from afar, you may mail your gift to the church office at 200 North Carey Street, McPherson, Kansas, 67460, or donate to local needs in your area. Thank you for sharing.
Our scripture for today is from Hebrews chapter 13. Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Continue to remember those in prison as if you were together with them in prison, and those who are mistreated as if you yourselves were suffering. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adultered and all the sexually immoral. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, God is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of lips that openly profess his name. And do not forget to do good and to share with others. For with such sacrifices God is pleased.
Good morning. My son has clearly outgrown me as I have to lower the mic. Oh, that's all right. Thank you for standing up here and doing that. I think it's pretty safe to say that NOAC is here, right? And also that it's Labor Day weekend as families and those who like to get the last little time out on the extended weekend. And our numbers are here. I want to thank those that braved the weather, yet another rainy day. And how many of you came up like Euclid and Maxwell, that area right there? I'm glad I had my truck, as a mini flood was kind of overwhelming the draining system. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for being present on this day when we may not be present in the pews, but I guarantee there are those watching and those who are praying for us today. I've already had a couple people look at me funny because they're trying to read my shirt. I know this is a first, but I'm going to show you what my shirt says. I wore it intentionally. It's part of the Spark-Dwelled community in Winston-Salem, and it says, "Hunger does not equal emptiness." That means those who are hungry does not mean that they are empty. They are human beings that simply need their stomachs filled, and that's part of our call. Angels are everywhere. This is going to be a little different kind of message, so I ask you to be patient with us as we do a little dance. Not literally, I know we're too Germanic for that, but we dive into a little pop rock culture, a little jazz, and we talk about angels all along the way. So I Googled, what is an angel? Because I wanted to know. I wanted to know what AI or Google or Oxford Online Dictionary would say, and it is defined as this. An angel is a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant, an agent, or a messenger of God. Had some more stuff about wings and all this stuff, and I kind of left that part out. The second definition, an angel is someone, a person of exemplary conduct or virtue, someone who stands out, who makes a difference. There are angels everywhere. And one of my all-time favorite songs points to this reality. I'm not going to sing a verse from this song from the 80s, but I want to read the verse and illustrate the poetry that the honor Bono, the lead singer of U2, gives to his Angel of Harlem as he recognizes iconic jazz artist. The verse goes, Birdland on 53, the street sounds like a symphony. We got John Coltrane and a love supreme, Miles, and she's got to be an angel. Lady Day got diamond eyes. She sees the truth behind the lies. Angel, soul love. This love won't let me go. So long, Angel of Harlem. The band wrote this song as an ode, as a recognition of jazz and the iconic voices that came through New York City in that great jazz revival part of human history. This was written in 1987, their song was. It might seem inconsequential, 30-some years, close to 30 years later. Am I that old? I was almost in high school then. Yeah, my son's saying yes, I am that old. All right. But this song highlights U2's desire to name something bigger than music. It's their understanding, their knowledge of the story behind the story that comes through in so many of their songs. Of course, if you read the story about the song, they will name, it was a guilty pleasure. We just landed in New York City basically as this big band and the lights and the neon lights and the hustle and the bustle and the limousine. It's all part of that. But really, at the core is something bigger. As they made their way to Manhattan, U2 recognized they arrived on holy ground. Their limo driver that day was African American and had black music, as they would say, playing on the radio. And as they listened to Billie Holiday come through the speakers, U2 understood something. Jazz wasn't just this complicated sort of collection of sounds flowing together. Jazz was a movement to break chains and to name injustice. And Billie Holiday's voice echoed louder than others. She was Lady Day with diamond eyes. Her soulful, haunting voice would lift hearers into a new heaven and a new earth, and then drop us back into reality with the lyrics that opened our eyes and our ears. Bono knew exactly what he was doing when he penned this song with his bandmates. He was using their popularity as one of the biggest bands in the world to continue to break chains. And Billie Holiday, Lady Day, was the perfect Angel of Harlem. But why? I was going to quote more of Strange Fruit, her very famous song, but I want to be sensitive to young people that haven't heard or know this song. So I will just simply, from the third verse of Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop. Now, this is where I tell you it gets a little different. Can somebody tell me what she is referencing? What is this a metaphor for? What strange fruit is she referencing? Specifically, black bodies, and she names that in another verse. This is a song about lynching. Bono and U2 knew exactly what they were doing when they spoke of her. As I rehearsed Strange Fruit and my fondness for the song, I realized I would love to take a Sunday school season and talk about theology in song. Right? There's too much to unpack in a sermon, but how powerful and wonderful would it be to spend 6 weeks grabbing 6 songs and unpacking the theology in them? Songs that we may not even recognize as theologically rooted, but indeed they are. That's a little plug for hopefully someday in the future. Because angels are everywhere. They appear in different forms to help the rest of us. Imagine a world where heaven and earth kiss. A world where the Lord's Prayer is honored and lived out on earth as it is in heaven. Angels are the messengers who guide us, who free us from chains that cling us and weigh us down, so we can be free and then continue the work of freeing others. As part of an ordained minister, I have to have CEUs. Right, Elsie? And December is when my 5-year CEU thing needs to be done, or else I have to go before the board. And not this nice board, but the bigger board. And so this past week I realized I'm a little behind on my CEU, so I went to Ventures and I replayed a class from last fall about happiness and the Psalms led by Dr. Steve Reed. How many of you know Dr. Reed personally? Steve was a mentor and is a mentor of mine. I've had many, many great conversations with Steve, and so I feel comfortable using his name in this sense. But he taught the class. He exegeted several Psalms and pointed us to a place where the divine agent and the human agent work together to create something bigger. And in that work of the divine and the human coming together, that's when happiness flows. I'm not suggesting that Steve is an angel. In fact, if he were to hear that, he'd probably laugh, that deep, boisterous laugh that he has. But his teaching gave us all a peek into the way of the divine. When God and human agency come together, good is the outcome. Angels appear everywhere, and none of them, well, most of them, I should say, will have wings. A particular psalm that Steve highlighted for us was Psalm 41, verses 1 and 2, that truly showed the work of God and human together. And it reads, and this might sound familiar to New Testament folks, "Blessed are those who have regard for the weak. The Lord delivers them in times of trouble." Paraphrased, the Lord protects and preserves those who care for the most vulnerable. They are counted among the blessed in the land. God does not give the weak over to their foes. Instead, the Lord sustains them on their sickbed and restores them from their bed of illness. Sound like something Jesus might have taught us? Does it sound familiar? Maybe in Matthew 5 through 7 in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus names over and over and over those who are blessed, who are happy. In my own words, using Psalm 41 as the reference, happy are the ones who care for the weak. Happy are the ones who care for the sick. Happy are the ones who visit those who are in prison. Happy are those who work for liberation. Happy are the ones who work for peace. Bono might even add his own words to this. Birdland on 53, the street sounds like a symphony. We got John Coltrane and a love supreme, Miles. And she's got to be an angel. Lady Day got diamond eyes. She sees the truth behind the lies. Angel, soul love, this love won't let me go. So long, angel of Harlem. I'll say it again, angels are everywhere. And angels, just as the Oxford Dictionary suggests, are agents of divine good work. That makes sense, doesn't it? But these aren't the angels with heavenly names like Gabriel or Michael, Raphael. They're names like Billie Holiday, but also Paul and Nancy Magnol, and the entire McPherson Welcomers group. I know there are a lot of you. In fact, as I tried to name everyone who I know is doing great work, angelic work, that's a whole nother Sunday school series. I'm not meaning to miss anyone. But as one who's coaching a soccer kid from Afghanistan, I can tell you that Paul and Nancy take the work of welcoming serious and to heart. It is their ministry and their gift, and they are, in fact, angels. They help those who are seeking refuge from violence or whatever is tearing their country apart a new beginning, a new start. And I know that Magnums aren't the only ones. The entire McPherson Welcomer group are answering this call to be angels to everyone, to everywhere. And I think this reality, this call to help and to welcome and to care for is what the author of Hebrews is trying to teach that growing community of faith. Because God's agents show up at unexpected times, but they always show up. The early Jesus followers would have referenced and understood the reference to angels. They would have known the story of Abraham and Lot. I don't need to rehearse that for you. You know it. Because that story was foundational to their identity. Welcoming strangers is a core value of what it means to be Palestinian, even if those strangers appear to be enemies. Welcoming the stranger is welcoming God. The story of Abraham and Lot echoing in their ears, they would have heard that as the author told them to do that. The author ties this to the core value of their collective story as a way to also restore relationships. Perhaps the author had just read Psalm 41 again and reheard the call to care for those who are sick, to believe in a manner that reflects the character of God. And doing so is what makes God happy and honors God. Because then the author of Hebrews adds that the followers of Jesus, that's us too, by the way, we need to remember what it means to look like following Jesus, what it means to look like Jesus, who, as the author names, is the same yesterday, the same today, and the same forever. Angels, as God's agents, show up time and time again. Angels, as the definition points to, remain folks of amazing character who do the right thing no matter who or who is not watching. And sometimes, unfortunately, angels may only be here for a season. Tomorrow is September 1st. It begins the month where we recognize and honor childhood cancer. I don't think that should ever end, by the way. How can our government, which spends over $900 billion on defense, which is more than the other 9 countries in the top 10 combined, grasp that for a second. We spend over $900 billion on defense, and the other 9 countries in the top 10 combined do not even meet that. Yet we can't seem to fund a way to stop a true epidemic, an epidemic that steals children from parents and dreamers from our future, childhood cancer. And today, this is personal to me. Cancer sucks, period. But back to tomorrow and those angels that adorn Main Street McPherson. Their smiles greet us, but their stories and their struggles haunt us. Kendra and I's nephew doesn't have a banner or a poster on Main Street, but he has a place in our hearts. By the way, in a week and a half on his birthday, he will have his final chemo treatment. Praise God. But there is a powerful angel on Main Street that is connected to this community of faith. Caden Schrader. An agent, an angel who changed our lives. And there's a story about Caden that I experienced personally and I want to share with you. And maybe I have before. On one of his many treatments and stops at KU Children's Med, whatever the name of Children's Mercy in Kansas City, he had to go there on a regular basis, and I would drive up as I could to spend some time with him. And on one of these trips, I couldn't find him in his room, and so the nurse said, well, he's down in the play area, which I know where that was because that's where they play games, and they would connect, and they would have a chance to just feel human surrounded in that place of sickness. Now, if you knew Caden at all, you know that he was fairly competitive. In fact, he hated to lose. I remember another little sort of side story that one day, even when he was really sick, he met me in the narthex and he said, I struck out 9 yesterday. Right? And even as the sickness and the disease was trying to still him, he wouldn't let it. So this particular day, he was down in the game room earning stuffed animals, and he had a trophy case of stuffed animals. I'm telling you, this kid won a lot, enough to give his brother, his sister, family members, cousins, all the toys they could want. But this day when I got down there, I saw he was playing against another young kid who did not look nearly as cheerful. a kid that was struggling with his diagnosis, a kid who didn't want to be there. Caden didn't want to be there either, but Caden knew that was part of the struggle. And Caden pretty much ran the place at that point. I mean, he really did. And so then Caden did something I've never seen him do. He lost on purpose. And he did it in a way that protected the dignity of the young kid who was at that circle. Why would he do that? Because the kid was crying. He was feeling a sense of all that is. And Caden, in his 11-year-old being, was an angel to this kid. And he lost, and that kid got a stuffed toy. And the kid didn't glow all of a sudden, but he did have a smile in the midst of all the sorrow that was that space. The light that flickered just a little bit was a little more in the darkness that surrounded those hallways. But the smile on Caden's face illuminated the place, because that's what angels do. If you don't know or didn't have the opportunity or blessing to know Caden, I invite you to get your phones out. Go ahead. It's 2025. I know you have your phones on you. And to Google Caden Schrader. It's okay. For those that are, it's fine, I promise. This is a good thing. If you were to Google him, you'll be amazed at how many things pop up all of a sudden about the impact and the legacy that Caden has left. Not just on McPherson Church or the community of McPherson, but in the world beyond. And it just so happens that the Magnals and Caden aren't the only angels that call this community of faith home. There's a group that care for a recently released man from prison, helping him re-enter society. Their work matches the call to care for those who are trying to start new. Paul Olamenek continues to work hard for a place near and dear to his heart, Haiti. Paul is an angel. Roger and Carolyn Schrock invite all of us to experience the South Sudan so they can continue the work they have spent so much of their being and lives to. Dan and Lynn Lichty, if you haven't been touched by their grace, their hospitality, and their effort, please know it's amazing. And this is another part that's different about today. If you have ever, it's okay to be proud of your work. If you have ever welcomed somebody into your home, if you have ever fed someone who was hungry, if you have ever worked to liberate somebody, if you've ever done anything for someone other than yourself and you got absolutely nothing out of it other than, as Laura shared in her children's story, the joy and the happiness of doing good. If you've ever done anything like that, please stand up. I want you to be recognized for the angel that you are. It's okay. I know we're brethren and this isn't really something we do, but you need to be proud of who you are and what you've done. Please rise if you've ever been an angel. I will call you out if you're sitting, and I know you shouldn't be, back in the corner. We are a community of angels, and I applaud and thank you. But the work of angels is never done. So I implore you to keep moving forward so that we continue to honor the call of the psalmist and the wisdom of the author of Hebrews. So that we can stand with Bono and you too and continue to name the angels in our midst. So that we can join with the Magnals, the Olamenics, the Schrocks, the Lichtys, all of you, to ensure the earth looks a little bit more like heaven than the alternative. And so we can continue saying the name of Caden, as well as all the other angels on Main Street, ensuring their legacy lives on well past the years we walk this planet. When we do these things, we will experience the true happiness promised in the Psalms and in the Beatitudes, and we will understand the blessing, well done, good and faithful. Amen. Angels, will you please rise for our sending song. Please be seated for the sending words and remain seated for the sending music. As I look over at the invitation to what it means to welcome others, Laura did a great job of giving us key ways to be hospitable, to be Jesus, to create spaces of happiness. I lament that I didn't add one more to that, and that is to laugh. To laugh with each other, to laugh together. Laughter is this amazing universal language that somehow transcends any differences. And I'll end with this story of my time in the West Bank. We were in Hebron, and we found ourselves seated at the table. And I've shared this story before. I'll continue to share it because it's so near and dear to who I am. And as the initial war on Gaza was happening on the news, and the family that we were eating with had loved ones that were getting bombed, and you could just see the weight of it impacting their ability to welcome us. I mean, they didn't want us there, but they were forced by their very faith, by the very sense of who they are, to welcome us. As we sat around the table, the dad grabbed a plate, and he looked at Rick Polhamus, and he winked at him. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And they pushed the plate over to me. Okay, I'm not going to be picky. I'll eat what's here. And I picked up the pickle, because it looked just like a pickle. And I put it in my mouth. And I started to eat, and my eyes began to instantly water as the hottest pickle I have ever had in my life exploded in my mouth. And at that moment, Rick, and I can't say the guy's name for his safety, Rick and our host just burst out laughing, and I realized they had pulled a practical joke on me. Laughter has a way of tearing down walls and helping us feel safe and seen and heard. So let us do all these things, but also let us laugh. Go in love, go in peace. Amen.